Hello, everybody. I'm Katrina. This is Sow and Tare, our weekly live, and I'm hoping everybody's doing good. Just a reminder to keep your comments family friendly, and we'll have a great time. It looks like there's already several people here. Oh my gosh, you guys were here a while, huh? S.O. Swanson, Time Timmer, Gidrose Herman Homestead, Vernie Young. All right, let's see. Everybody's just saying hi, I think. All right. Yes, Verna had a video earlier about all the different quail parts and how she uses them, which is pretty cool. It's always good to use all of the parts. Lucy is Verna's dog. She has tons of yummy stuff to eat. Verna has a dryer, and that is what she's talking about with all the different parts is freeze drying for dog treats. Last minute refreshments. Hey, Jesse. Oh, so Steve, I thought you were going to say you're snacking on some fresh quail parts or something. Grilled okra. Okra is good. Vern's got oranges in the freeze dryer. I got to catch up to you guys. Uh-oh. Jesse and Steve are getting in a like argument, I'm guessing. Hey, Ed's here. Ed got bait. Hi. Oh, yes, 9 p.m. where you are, Ed. That's good. All right, I think I'm caught up with the hellos. So that's good. Hi, everybody. Verna says, I'm going to do like you did in your rabbit video, getting that last bit of meat off. I'll show how to do it with quail. Yes. Yeah, it's getting all of the meat off of your animals is super valuable because, I mean, let's face it, you fed them, you cared for them, you paid for the feed, you did all of these things, and you don't want any of that. You want to get all of your money's worth. So that includes the meat, the eggs, the bones, the bone broth. You can feed your bones to your animals after they are squishy, once they've gone through bone broth process, only after they're squishy. And you can do all sorts of stuff with feathers and fur and pelts and all of that. So I encourage you guys to do all of that. Yeah. So does anybody have any questions to start us off? I might just use that as a tangent if people don't have questions. All right. I'm excited to see you guys. Yeah. So when you have an animal that is for food, you can use it for, if they lay eggs, you have the egg shell, right? You can use the eggs for yourself, for selling, for giving away. And you can actually use the egg shell for crafts. If you want to do crafts, you can crunch it up and feed it back to your birds. You can use it in their garden to add the fertilization from the eggshell to your garden. And that will take a while to break down. It's not going to be immediate effect, but it's a pretty good thing to do. If you have too many eggs, you can feed them back to your birds, which is really, really great. Jennifer, hi Jennifer. Jennifer has a question. How long do you leave the lights on for baby quail? 8 hours, 10 hours, 16 hours, etc. For my baby quail, I don't do anything special light-wise. They're inside my house, so they get whatever light is there. And then if we happen to be in the room, they get that. Something that I did figure out pretty quickly, we have dimmable lights in the house, and that's super, super nice because you can actually mimic a sunset. So you don't really have to do much if you aren't in that room and you have a window because they'll just go to sleep with the sun. But if let's say you stayed up late, we have our television in that room, which that used to be the library, no media room. And then Manuel moved in and that became the media room. And then we got Quail. Oh, Manuel's on. Hi. And so we just use the natural light, but then we might watch a movie or we might stay up doing something in there. So what we do is we actually dim the light. We're just conscious about it. The last half hour before we want to go to bed, just start dimming it. And it's a lot less stressful for the birds. And so basically, Jennifer, when they're peeping and they're like just really aggravated, it can get aggravating when they're just peep, 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 peep. And when that happens, what that means is they need something. Something's wrong. They need attention for some reason. And a lot of times, if you just turn off a light switch, then they will, they're lost. They can't find their way to the brooder plate. They don't know where their buddies are. They're confused. So giving them that pseudo sunset is a really good idea. And I do that kind of over half an hour. I hope that answers your question. And then for once your quail are breeding age, so we can start like 6 weeks, but when they're laying eggs, they won't lay eggs unless they have enough light. And I have heard 14 to 16 hours of light a day. I would not go 24 hours. I think that's too much light, and you want them to sleep and be rested. But 16 hours is great for laying birds, but when they're babies, they don't really need, a special amount of light. I wouldn't have them in the dark, and I wouldn't have it on 24 hours. I would provide them a sunset, whether that's a natural light sunset or a dimmer switch. And that's just, it's more for the ease of my ears because they will go to sleep. They will figure it out, or you'll go in there and push them under the heat mat. Yeah. So I hope that helps. Let me know if you need more clarification. Verna says, freeze dry the eggs when you have too many. For those that have freeze dryers, I don't have one yet. Jasmine's back. Hi, Jasmine. And Manuel's saying hi. I'm guessing you're still at work. Everybody's saying hi to Manuel. Verna says, that is what I do in the quail room. Yeah, so natural light. Yeah, you're welcome, Jennifer. Yeah, natural light is good. The dimmer certainly helps. It certainly helps just with your ears. Because it's okay to have them peeping for a little while, and they will. But yeah, when they just shut off that light switch, they peep a lot. So I did start gathering eggs for my jumbos. I don't know what I'm doing now, but I started collecting eggs late last week for hatching, and that is from the jumbo aviary. For those who don't know, I have 2 aviaries. The main aviary it used to be jumbos, and now it's standard size, and I have a few jumbos in there. But that's for egg laying. And then I have my jumbos separate, and those are for meat. So they're a little bigger, they're a little stockier. The reason why I have them separated is the ones for egg laying, if they're smaller, they make almost the same size egg, but you feed them less. So it's just cheaper. Yeah, so there's that. But I had raccoons, I'm not sure which. I used to have a game camera up, and I have taken it down. I haven't put it up in a while. So I need to do that again and see what's happening, see how many we have. I saw raccoon prints, and I'm assuming that that's why I only got 4 eggs a few nights ago. I got 9 eggs. I have 15 females in the jumbo aviary. I have 9 eggs. I got last night, but I dropped 2 of them. So I don't have 9 eggs anymore from last night. I might actually kind of start over and see how the next days go, and if by Thursday I have enough eggs from the jumbos, then I'll incubate those. Or I've also been saving from last night the ones from the standards, because you can eat those too. They're just a little smaller. So I'm not sure what I'm doing with that yet, but we do have raccoons back in the yard. Verna says, Alexa, quail light 50%. Yeah, so Verna she has voice control for her lights. And it's the same idea as my little light switch that I switch on and off, except for she didn't have to get up. Steve Vessel Swanson says also do the Alexa program. To reduce daily. It only take 30 minutes to simulate sunset. Yeah. So, so 37 minutes is like what sunset is. I have it's called a drift light, and you turn it on, and it's a no blue light thing for the end of the night, or for at the end of the night when you're getting ready for bed, if you want to read or something. It doesn't have the blue light, and so that's supposed to make it easier to transition into sleep. And I haven't used it in a very long time, but you can set it to a sunset setting. Now, this is an expensive light that I don't know if you want to use it for your quail or not, and you do have to turn it on each time. But they say 37 minutes is what they have as their sunset. So I'm assuming that that's correct. It's pretty researched, but 30 minutes is close enough. So yeah, you can do programmable things. You can program a light on a timer, just like I do for my outside ones. I use a rope light, but you can do that for a regular desk lamp or something in that room. You can do that too. So if you have a window and you're not in there much, I would just, do the natural sunset, and just know that if you go in at night and turn on the light, they might have trouble going back to bed. Dawn's here. Hi, Dawn. Oh yes, yeah. Verna saying, "Yep, saw those tracks." Yeah. So on my video that was out this morning, I showed those tracks. I call them creepy children hands. I've seen them on job sites where it's called silt fencing. It's the black fencing that you see along construction sites. And I've seen muddy handprints, and they just look like little children's hands from far away. And they're just little muddy children hands. And those would be raccoons, not children. I hope. Dawn saying hi to everybody. And Verna says also do the natural sun in the mornings. Yeah, so I don't wake up my little ones early. The timer on the outside, I think I do have it a little bit early. I don't actually remember what it is. I just know it's 16 hours for the outside ones. And something that for light for quail for the layers, your day is going to shorten from the summer equinox to the winter equinox. And that's your shortening time. But when that happens, it's not like 7 o'clock every morning is always going to be a certain type of light. Within that time period, 7 o'clock is going to be brighter here than it is here. So setting a timer only on either side of the daylight. You guys are going to have to see if this makes sense to you. I don't know if I'm explaining it correctly. So if you have timed light, regular daylight, and then more timed light, you are going to have to adjust on the ends. So just pay attention to that. If your quails start to drop off a little bit with the laying of the eggs, you can catch it. If you pension, you can catch it before all of them stop, and they'll just, just those couple will kick back up production. But what you can do, especially if you have LED lights, because they don't use a lot of electricity, is just have it on for 16 hours. And then that reduces your worry that you're going to mess up, either on the morning or the evening or whatever. Yeah. Somebody tell me if that makes sense. I'm not sure if that really made sense. Makes sense in my head. So Swanson says the quail do like to jibber jabber at lights out. Yes, they do. Like a bunch of kids talking at bedtime. Sometimes I yell in there, time to be quiet, guys. This is true. Oh, they do it. They have lots of stuff to talk about. I don't know what, but especially the little ones, they have lots to say. Gidrose says all of our quail are outside except one brooder. Yeah. So Gidros, do you keep the younger brooder inside and then transfer them out, or do you have one inside that goes all the way up to 3 weeks, and then the other ones outside also go from baby all the way from hatching all the way up to 3 weeks? Makes perfect sense. Good. Time and timber. Exactly, Katrina. I have to adjust my outdoor time lights according to for the season change. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm glad that makes sense. Made sense inside my head. So S.O. Swanson says it does make sense. So if it's set for 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. at night and it's dark at 7, that means it's night, then bang, it's daytime for a few hours. Yeah. Yep. And I don't know if it has to be continuous light, but it just makes sense that the daylight would be, here to here and not be here to here and then dark and then light again. So yeah, so birds, their bodies respond to, it's called the photoperiod. So photoperiod is the term that's used for the amount of daylight in a day. And birds respond to this. That's why you have a nesting season. You're not going to see very many nesting in the dead of winter. And that's because their bodies respond to the photoperiod. And then also plants. So some plants won't start unless they have enough light. So like when you start like things like peppers and stuff, you always put a light over them because they need that. They need to know that they have enough light to grow. So it's plants, it's animals. There's studies on stress levels in humans and how much night lighting has impacted humans. They've done studies on the same thing for birds. So if you have a street light, it's best to, like I have a street light out in front of my house. I have asked them over and over to put a shield on it, and they haven't, the city. And I have blackout curtains. So I think that's also very important if you live in town. Gudros says, no, we have that many brooders. Our inside one is in our shed, 4x8. Yeah. Well, you're doing a lot of things too with your birds, which is good. Yeah. Yeah, I just didn't know if you wanted like the sensitive ones, the first week they're inside or something like that. So yeah, we'll see when I actually get to incubating. Some of the ones I collected might end up be eating eggs. I kind of want to see what happens over the next couple days with collection of eggs and go from there. Like I said, my main aviary, even though there was prints over there, they seem to be, well, they didn't give as much as they usually do, but they're giving still. So that's all right. We'll figure it out. We're not going to starve. We have meat in the freezer. Dawn says, gonna head out. I just wanted to pop in and give a thumbs up. Take care. Thank you, Dawn. Have a great evening. Gidros says, Bob Whites get the inside brooder. Are they more sensitive? I'm going to guess that they're more sensitive. Yeah. Yeah. Jesse says good night or bye, Dawn. Yeah, I'm going to guess that they're more sensitive. So, I don't know if you guys watched the rabbit fat rendering video I did yesterday. I put out yesterday. I know we were talking about that before. Someone didn't give us a thumbs up. It's okay. Someone's missing. Maybe they haven't heard something they liked yet. Yeah, so Verna says she watched that. Yeah, so there are a couple things with that video that I would like to try differently next year, and maybe you guys can think of some more things. Oh, somebody's listening to you, Verna. We got 9 out of 9. So some things I'd like to do differently next time. If you haven't watched it, this is rendering rabbit fat. I did 5 liters worth of fat, came up with about 5 cups of rendered fat. So with that, I have a couple ideas. One is that I do want to try and separate out the fat near the kidneys, which in a pig is called leaf lard, versus the body fat on the outside. I know that's different in pigs. I have no idea if it's different in rabbits or other animals at all, but I would like to separate that and see if they have any flavor differences. And then I'm also going to be grinding it, more of a solid, when it's frozen, cut it up and then grind it. And that should get a more usable fat out of it. So that's, those are 2 things I would do. And then a third thing that I thought of is when I'm straining it into the coffee filter, I would like to, I will probably do a mesh strainer before that because the coffee filter just got really clogged up. All right, let's see. Gudro says, Bob White are more sensitive. Coturnics are super easy compared to Bob's. Yeah. So that makes sense why you would have them inside. Steve says, I did my 2. Did you do 2 likes? I think you have to do 3. I don't think it works if you do 2. I think you just like and unlike. 11 now, Verna says. Woohoo! Thanks, guys. Yeah, he just says, watched it last night. Time and Timber, Jasmine says, we added a new, yes, livestock guardian pup to her homestead. Oh boy, life is already changes. Yes. So he's pretty young, right? Isn't he just like a few weeks old? I mean, not few, but just weaned. You're gonna have some adventures with him, and I'm excited to hear all about it. Aaron says, had to hop on, get my like on here. Thank you, Aaron. Oh, it was Jasmine. Thanks for the reminder, Verna. Thank you, Jasmine. Everybody's saying hi, Aaron. And Steve, you're funny. 10 weeks. So 10 weeks old is livestock guardian dog. Now, I know I have met livestock guardian dogs, very few of them, and some of them are great once the owner is like, okay, hey, here's so and so, they're a friend, and they were great. And then another time I was on a job site that had a nearby solar field with sheep, and they actually went after my car from a different direction. They were not attentive to their flock at all. So I know that there's probably a variety of personalities, but then also training. And I'm sure you're going to do great with training, Jasmine. You're great with animals, so I'm sure you're going to do great with training. But it would be interesting to hear about your progress, especially with your different animals. I'm assuming it's going to be a whole homestead guardian dog instead of specific species oriented. It's just my guess. Lots of adventures for sure. Yes. Starts the fun of training. Yes. Yeah. So yes, Jasmine does need to do the new more videos, and maybe we'll have like a whole segment on your new livestock guardian dog. So there are some key things that I would love to have a dog, and I will have a dog eventually, but I don't have one right now. I love doggies. Anybody who was at QuailCon knows that I said hi to all the doggies. But there are some key things that some of my neighbors have trained their dogs that I think are important that I never thought of before. And so one of them is look. And so they look you in the eyes. That means they're paying attention. And dogs don't generally, just look you in the eyes like I'm paying attention. But that's one, is to say look, and they have to look you in the eye before you do anything. And in that case, it's before she goes off leash. She has to, okay, are you paying attention? Yes, I'm paying attention. And then I know a lot of people do go find so-and-so, and I mean, I kind of accidentally trained my grandma's dog when I lived with her. I would come home, and after passing in the smell inspection, she always had to smell me. Where'd you go without me? I would say, where's grandma? And she actually would take me to the room that my grandma was in. And so that was something I accidentally trained her to do. But building on that, I always said, if I get a dog, I would like to train them to go get so-and-so. Because let's say something happens, you're working on something and something happens and you break a leg, or you fall on something, or a hydraulic something or other falls on your foot and you're stuck there. And you can actually tell your dog, go get so-and-so. That would be a really good thing to learn. So that's just kind of building on the ones that I already know. There's more, but those are the kind of the main ones that I was like, those are really good things to know and things to have dogs know. Time and Timber says he's a Great Pyrenees, one of the calmer, friendlier livestock guardian dogs. Yeah, these two that came after the car were Great Pyrenees, and they were not with our flock. But very loyal and committed. He comes from a wonderful working line of Pyrenees. He's a good pup, great demeanor, but pointed training still needed. Yeah. I think you'll do really good with that. S.O. Swanson says, I'd be interested in its progress in training, how they know to protect another animal as opposed to just playing with them. I think a lot of it is instinctual, and a lot of it is like they're gonna try and play with, the chickens or whatever, and you have to tell them no. And then once they know that that's not a toy, I think that they're really trainable dogs, and that's part of what makes them great. I mean, the other thing that makes them great is they bark all the time, for their job. Yeah, Verna says you have fun training him. Yep. Time and Timber, Jasmine says, I will do series document Koa's adventures for YouTube, like a journal. It will be so different than training my house pet dogs. I'm excited for the venture ahead. Yeah, I would still train the same things as your house dogs, but he's gonna have to know more for sure. For sure. Yeah. So I think it's a great thing. Great thing. How many people on here have dogs? Verna was in the bathroom yesterday and a quail got out. Didn't know until Lucy herded it into the bathroom. Well, she knows what she's supposed to do. Yeah. How many people on here have dogs? It's a good question. And my follow-up to that is, I know I have dog sat when I have little quail, and they didn't mind them at all. And so I'm guessing that when they're young and grow up with a dog around, that they aren't really impacted by it negatively when they see dogs later. And I'm wondering if that's true across the line for dogs, or if that is true for that particular dog. So that's another question for those that have dogs and quail. It Got Bait has had one, but no more pets. That's so sad. They are happy. Gidros says we have a lab named Spark. Does Spark go around the quail? That's something that is I'm just interested in. Timber says lots of instinctive behavior, especially for larger livestock. Smaller, fast-moving livestock like poultry means good training necessary. Yeah. Yeah, if it's big, don't chase it. Is that what we're talking about? Verna says, yes, if the dog is kept in the same room as the bird, she will not lay eggs. She won't get upset, just won't lay. So that's even if they're used to Lucy. That's interesting. Because I know with my rabbits, the house that the yard that they grew up in, that family had a dog that, ran around a lot and stuff. And so they aren't bothered with dogs that come in into my area. So like a long time, I know Jim the dog visited us more recently. I ended up not doing a video of that, but I did a kind of a compilation video last time he came and visited. If you want to see first reactions to him meeting chickens and him meeting rabbits and quail. I didn't let him go with the adult quail, just the baby quail. And the rabbits were completely fine with him. Like, they weren't stressed or anything. And I know that my rabbits have alerted to possums, because I was in with in the Raccoon house one night when there's this big giant, like, she's like that big. It's a mama possum, and she comes from the neighbors and comes and drinks in the pond. And the chickens just were oblivious, but both the rabbits that are in there, they just, their ears up and look, and they're looking right at the possum. And that's how I knew it was there, because I didn't even hear it come in. And they didn't have that kind of reaction with the dog. So that was interesting. Jesse says we have 6 dogs. That's a lot. Just picked up the newest one a few weeks ago at a swap as a guardian dog. Very cool. He is 6-month-old Pyrenees and standard poodle. I got him when I had 9 dead pigeons. Wow. Yeah. Poodles are a hunting dog. I don't know if you know this, but the poodle cut, the original poodle cut where they have, it's ridiculous looking with the little poofs on the joints. That's actually because they're like bird dogs. So if people are shooting ducks over water, the dogs go and get them. And they didn't want all the burrs. The poodles have such curly hair, and you can imagine all the burrs that they would get going into the swampy areas. And so what they do is they basically shave it and then leave the joints as a insulation for the joints, so they don't get too cold. But they don't have to take out all of the burrs out of the fur. So that's interesting. It's an interesting mix. I would like to see what that looked like. Yeah. Tommy Timber says, I have 2 bully breed dogs, house dogs, and they love to babysit my young quail. And the cats also love to babysit. My young quail do not care at all while they are in the house. Now, I wonder if you were to take them out by your, if you were to take them into your aviary. I'm not suggesting you do this right now. You might lose eggs for a couple of weeks, but I would be curious if they remember seeing a dog and seeing a cat and being like, oh, that's okay, I remember you. Or if they would be like, be more concerned. If you do that experiment, let me know, and it's not my fault if they stop laying. Guido says she's a good retriever of quail. She's pretty reactive to our birds, so she's not around them a lot. Okay. If we need to catch a bird, she's our gal. Yeah, I saw a video. I know the guy's name. I can't think of it right now. I think it was Jim Lawson. He does a lot of permaculture stuff, and he has a dog that will catch chickens that get out. And by catching, he just kind of lays on them lightly until he gets there and can get the bird. Is totally unharmed and everything. So that, I mean, it can be done with training. I think that was I want to say it was a lab, but I really don't remember. Jesse says they all leave the quail alone in the pens. Loose, they're considered fair game. as long as I'm there and tell them to leave it, they will. That's good. That's good training. It's good to train your dogs. Ed got bait. You didn't know that about two poodles? Yeah. Those ridiculous cuts the fancy people do. It actually originated from hunting. So it's ridiculous for a reason. We like reasoned ridiculousness, right? Time and Timber says once the quail are outside, they become more easily spooked by dogs visiting. Okay. Although now the 3 barn kittens has really desensitized the aviary quail as they love to climb on the harbor cloth. Yes. So we have the little gray kitty. It's been in a couple of videos. It's the neighbor's cat. Well, I don't know what they do with it besides give it a collar that it lost. But it comes over all the time. And I did see it one time. It just jumped up and attached itself to the side of the aviary. And but that cat has been there the whole lives of the current birds. So it's desensitized to that at least. Not your fault. Got it. Yep. Gotta have my disclaimers. Yes, Jeff, not Jim. Yes, Jeff Lawton in Australia. You are correct. So that is the permaculture guy. You can watch a lot of his stuff and you can just go off on an adventure of learning permaculture with his videos. It's very, very cool. Yeah, that is who I'm talking about. Thank you for correcting me. Verna says labs have gentle mouths. They can pick up birds without damaging them. Yep. Yep. And so that's also, they're bred to be bird dogs. I actually worked when I lived in Illinois, I worked for a place that everybody brought their dog in. And they were all labs, and they were all bird dogs, and they all bird hunted, and they they were all very well trained. Very, very well trained. One dog was even trained that when she was in trouble, okay, not that well trained, she had to sit in a person chair in the middle of the room so that he could see her if she got down, and that was her timeout. But she would get up in the chair and sit there like a person. Yeah. Jesse says, I did know that about poodles. Our oldest dog is Min Pin. Oh, Min and Min Poodle cross. The new one looks a lot like Rolly, the dog that we had at QuailCon. Awesome. Send you a pic. Awesome. Guido says that's what she does for chickens. I think the quail are just too small for her to be gentle. Yeah, and they probably flap around more, I would guess. Yeah, just because they're a little bit more. Chickens have a little bit of attitude, and quail are like, "Oh my gosh, you're gonna eat me." Yeah, pretty hyper. I think your garden is neat, Katrina. How much land do you have? Verna says. How much land do I have? Not enough is the answer. I am in town, and on my lot it has my house and my garage and a big screen and porch. Small house. Small house, garage, and big screen and porch. And it is 7,000 square feet. So I have a lot of these animals, and so I have 3 chickens. I have right now 3 rabbits. The 2 ladies are pregnant. We're gonna keep one of their girls. Hoping we have a good girl to choose from. Hopefully we don't get all boys. And 2 quail aviaries, and then over 40 fruit trees, and then other garden space, and even some native flowers in the front. We have a lot of native milkweed in the front that is taking off. So that's pretty cool for the monarchs. So yeah, there's a lot you can do in that small space for sure. And there's also a pond that I dug. So 7,000 square foot lot it's 100 feet by 70 feet. I don't know if that's actually what the dimensions are. I think it's close to that. It might be longer and skinnier, but 100, is that right? 100 times 70? Yeah. So it's pretty small. And you can do a lot on a small space for sure. Yeah, good question. Jasmine says, gotta go take Koa potty. Yes, doing great with potty training. That you have to do. Yeah, always the answer. Yes, Verna. She says, love that you welcome volunteer plants as well. Volunteer plants are pretty darn awesome. There's a video that I did, I don't know, it was last year. I think it was last winter sometime, all about volunteers. You guys can go back and watch if you haven't seen it already. But it is amazing what can volunteer. If you have something seed in your yard, like even if it's something that bolted, like, one year I had bok choy that just, I didn't ever eat bok choy. It just bolted. And I had bok choy though the next year. So I didn't have to plant it. You do plant some things, you don't know what's coming up. But I've had many things volunteer in the yard, and what Verna's most recently talking about is in my video from this morning, or that came out this morning, is some celery. And I always welcome, I mean, I haven't planted celery in years, and it's something that I don't use a whole lot of. I use more of it now that it grows in my yard. But you have a recipe and it calls for 2 sticks of celery. Well, you go to the store, you can't buy 2 sticks of celery, right? I do use it more now that I have it. But when you have a plant and then, okay, I don't need the rest of it, it can go to seed and it can give me more plants, and I'll just have it next year. You get stronger plants. You get plants that are more adapted for your environment, for your soil, for your watering conditions, for everything. And so the seeds that don't germinate are the ones that wouldn't have germinated anyway if you planted them, right? And then the seeds that do germinate, they are going to produce offspring, meaning more seeds, that do better with germinating next time around. And so celery did that. I had carrots do that once. Carrots are a little tougher. They don't really do it very well. Beets do it a lot. And then chard. Yeah, chard does it a lot. What else does it? Strawberries. I've had strawberries come up in weird places. And I think it's probably just, I'm not one to throw away. If I bite the strawberry, I just toss the little green part into the yard somewhere. So things start that way as well. Blackberries also start by seed. Now, some of them, here's the key with that. If you buy a thornless blackberry, its babies are not going to be necessarily thornless. All of them that have come up from a seed have been with thorns. So, or I don't think they're called thorns. They're prickles. I don't know. Anyway, so yes, volunteers are good. They're always welcome, and they produce way better than the ones you plant because they're better adapted, especially over time. Let's see. Hey, my mom's here. Hi. If celery is sold by the pound, just pluck how many stalks you need and put them in a bag. The checker won't scold you. Yeah, that's a good point. I think you're talking about like if it's sold by the pound and not by, I guess they're not called a head. But yeah, try it. Worst will happen is you'll have to go back and buy the rest of the bag, I guess. Verna says, I can remember a year when I had volunteer cherry tomatoes by the, okay, that's the other thing. Volunteer cherry tomatoes by the garage near where we had trash can. Yeah. So cherry tomatoes is the only tomato that grew this year. I planted a bunch and they grew and no tomatoes. Cherry tomatoes, the original parentage was Sweet 100, which was years and years and years and years ago. I have not planted cherry tomatoes in a very long time. But Sweet 100 is I think it's an F1 cross. It's not a true to type one, but all of the ones that followed were good. They're just good little cherry tomatoes. So tomatoes are known for that. I have one tomato plant in the front. I don't think it's a cherry tomato, but I don't know. It volunteered where there was a leak. There used to be a leak and there isn't now, and it's still growing and it's flowering, but it hasn't done anything yet fruit wise. And this is its second year. So I don't know if it's going to overwinter another year or not. I didn't do anything to protect it at all. So it's interesting. Gidra says the self-seeding volunteers are my favorite. We have a beautiful cherry tomato plant growing right now. Yep. Also, bok choy came up all over the place this year too. Yeah. I expected broccoli to do that for me one year, but it didn't. But here where I live, and maybe Gidros, maybe where you live as well, I don't know how cold it gets there in the winter. It's gotten down to 22 where I live. I moved here in 2013 to this house, and since then it's only gotten down to 22. But I have had broccoli plants over winter 3 years. So I've done it from three years of harvest. And you could actually cut when it comes up with a head of broccoli, you can actually cut that and then harvest the side shoots. You don't have to pull out the whole plant because it's done, because it's not. And then you have broccolini. I mean, that's not the official name, but you might as well say it is. Verna says lettuce and other greens, if they go to seed, well, yeah, you'll have volunteers. I had one year I planted lettuce and then I let it go to seed. I didn't realize how successful it was going to be. And the next year I had it all in my wood chip pathways. It was a good water year, and just I wasn't watering it. Nature was. And it was so funny because my neighbor came over and we went in the back, and she has a little tiny Maltese. He's very tiny. And this was a point where the lettuce I was letting grow and just seed and do whatever at that point. It was later in the lettuce's lifetime. And so we just let him out in the yard and be a little happy doggy. And we were just talking, and it was starting to get dark, and all of a sudden we hear, and he was lost. He was lost in the lettuce. He couldn't find his way out. So we had to go get him. It was pretty funny. Yeah. So yeah, there's your lettuce story. Hey, PJ, happy birthday. You're okay. You're all right. You got here. Doesn't matter if you're late. Yeah, 9B. So same zone doesn't necessarily mean same temperature. It's just the zones is just frost states. So first and last frost states. That's what the USDA zones are. So so yeah, it's the date is what that identifies. So yeah, so then how cold it gets isn't really registered into that at all. That's a different thing. But we are in the same zone, so there you go. Yes, happy birthday. Everybody's saying happy birthday. It is PJ's birthday. I don't know. Did you want me to not say that? Too late. Thank you for joining on your birthday. I hope you had a good rest of the day. I know it's later where you are right now. Yeah. So, my mom's Mary. I don't know if you guys picked up on that, but my mom mentioned that you can buy a certain poundage of produce at the store. Yes, it's a great day. Good, PJ. If there's something that's sold by the pound and not by like a head or this or that, you can actually ask. Oftentimes there's a produce person, and if you can find them, you can ask them, hey, can I have half a head of lettuce or half of this or whatever. And if it's something that makes sense to sell that way, then they'll do that. I don't know if everybody realizes that. And I only know that because she knew that and did that in the store. Sometimes they'll even let you taste things. I think we did that. I think that was the first time we tasted Star. I think you probably asked that. You can correct me if you're still on. But I think that's the way we did it. I think that's what happened. Like, what the heck is this? We taste it. Guido says we average 20 hours below freezing a year. Average winter temps are high of 65, low of 45. Yeah, so probably similar. I don't know how many below freezing hours we have here, but that sounds about the same. Yes, perfect for beekeeping. Yeah. I'm near school, and we have ordinances that say you can't do things within certain distance of schools. So beekeeping is one of them, which I think is ridiculous because I can guarantee you there are bees that go onto that school property every day. Yes, honey. Yes. Yeah, I would like to learn more about beekeeping. I know that there was a swarm that swarmed in my yard. Actually, two swarms that swarmed in my yard. I think it was, and I have a friend who came over and caught them, so that was pretty cool. And something's happening outside. Okay, there's just kids being weird outside. And so my friend came over and actually caught the swarms, and they happened like a couple days apart from each other. So it was pretty cool to see that and be involved from a distance. It's fascinating to see a clump, this big of bees. Starting painting the hives today. Awesome. Gidros, have you had bees before? I know Jasmine has them. Free bees, free honey. Yep. Time and Timber says, bummer. Could you do native bees for pollination? Yes, Xerces Society has resources for all in the US. So I do have bees. There, the bee population here at my property, at my house, is very good. We have lots of different kinds of bees. There are even bees. I don't remember what video I put it in. I don't even remember if it's in a video. I think it's in probably one of the weekly updates videos. But the front gate, there's a latch. So there's the latch, and then there's the thing that goes into it and to close it. And I had accidentally put them on the wrong sides, so I had to take them off. And so there's 4 extra holes, which are just little teeny tiny holes. And there are native bees that are teeny tiny native bees that live in those teeny tiny holes. And they don't even care if you open and shut the gate and let it go and slam shut. They just stay in there, and they kind of come out and go, oh, okay, I'll go back to bed. So it's pretty funny. And then I also have, for that same gate, I was going to have a pole on the outside, which is not necessary, but I never got around to it, but I did drill the hole, and there are different kind of native bee that lives in there. So I think I'm going to do this is to drill holes in the fence and have that available for the bees. And then we have carpenter bees. We have those little green iridescent bees. We have all sorts of different bumblebees. So yeah, we have tons of bees in the neighborhood, and definitely providing forage for them. And the the blackberry leaves to sleep. If you go out in the morning, you can sometimes see them just sitting on a leaf sleeping. It's pretty cool. Okay, let's see where we are. Yay, Gidros. I have been keeping honeybees for almost 10 years. Love them. Yes. Gidros says, this is our first time we have been in the researching phase for 10 years. Christina lost a bet to me, so I ordered a hive setup. Uh-oh. What was she going to get if she won the bet? Verna says there are some native bees that are no bigger than gnats. Yeah, there's some really small ones. In fact, when I was painting my house, there was some nail holes for like Christmas lights, where there used to be nails, and there was a hole where a nail used to be, and there was a bee living in there, like just a nail hole in the woods. So I left it alone. And I think it probably is still being used by bees. Probably not the same one. I Got Bait says, you don't want carpenter bees. They will chew up your house. So they'll chew up rotten wood more readily than non-rotten wood. And there are plenty of old houses here. So I think that they are probably in houses. But they make great pollinators. And they actually will have they bumble on things like a tomato. You can see them, they'll go there and they'll bumble like a regular bumblebee. But when you have, like, I have a neighbor who has morning glory, and you can see them, they'll go on top of the flower. So here's the flower, it's the land, and then they'll work their way on top of the flower, and they're so heavy, so it flops over. But they'll go all the way to the back, they'll cut a slit, and then steal the nectar without pollinating those. So they're not going to pollinate the ones that they can't fit in, or the ones that they can't get to, the ones that have a tube, but they will steal the nectar, which is pretty funny. But they're fun to watch, and they get like that big. Yeah. Guido says, I'm sure she just wanted me to not buy more quail. Well, that's okay. If that's the kind of bets you guys make, you're doing well. Yeah. Well, guys, we have 4 minutes left before it's 7. I'm going to try and keep it to an hour. Talked a lot about volunteers, bees, and dogs tonight, so that's good. I like how we can do many different topics. Oh, and quail. Of course, quail. I like how we can do many different topics and kind of explore some different things with this group, because there's a whole lot of stuff to learn, and there's a whole lot of stuff to share when it comes to self-sufficiency and, cooking and raising animals and gardening and all of that. And it's nice to hear stories from other people, and as well as stories from just what to do and what not to do. So I do enjoy this. Verna says, how many quail do you have? Remember, roos and chicks and brood don't count. Roos don't count, huh? I have 15. No, I have 16 hens in the jumbo, and in the, let's see, in the main aviary, I believe, I want to say there's like 43 or 42 hens, something around there. I think one of them died, so I think it's 32. I think it's 42 now. So S.O. Swanson says, I'm calling this life series the Learning Channel. I'm constantly learning new. That's good. That's good. Yeah, learning is good, as long as you're learning good things. Guido says, Verna, you don't ask that question. The correct question is, how many more do you want? Ooh. Time and Timber says, sounds about right. I only have 30. Oh, can't name that amount. Yeah. So I did call the, once my check cleared, I did call the number for the small egg producers, licensed people or certificate people, whatever, the small egg producers people, to see what the process was. And they said that I should be getting my certificate this week sometime. And so that would be good. Once I have that, I can reach out to restaurants and start selling, which is why I have more in the egg layers. And I can do more in that aviary. And I can do more. I have another plan if I actually get, big. But I should have that. If I don't have it by next time I see you guys, then that will be sad. But I asked, I said, okay, so in 2 weeks, if I don't hear from you guys, I should call back. And he said, yeah. So, and it's an interesting thing. I guess they don't do inspections unless there's a complaint. So, because I asked, okay, what's the process? Do we need to set up time to have an inspection or whatever? So I know that larger ones they do that for, but for like small homestead, they don't do that. So I thought that was interesting because I was like just ready to set up an appointment. But good to know for California. I have no idea what that is for other places. And I'm going to be doing the cottage foods, and that they probably do have an inspection for, I'm going to guess. Time and Timber says, fun chat tonight. Yes, I agree. We didn't have very many moments of silence, right? Verna says, wow, in Ohio, they do investigations to get egg license. I think that in California, there's probably a lot more people and a lot less money for those activities is going to be my guess. The state doesn't necessarily run their money the way that I would run it. So I'm going to guess that that's why. And I don't know how big you would have to be to get that, but it was a surprise to hear for sure, because I thought that would be something that they would want to do. Yeah. We see 200, 250 Coturnics, and we don't know how many Bob Whites. That's a lot. It's a lot. Steve says I have to be MPIP to get my egg license in Mississippi. Really? Yeah, that's separate here. It's interesting. Inspections, not investigations. Did I say investigations, or did somebody else say that? I don't know. I think in the spring I might get my MPIP. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I'm not that far into selling, except for people that I know. So once you did. Okay. Thanks, Verna. Yeah, once I get into that, I think it's probably a good idea just to do. Just for peace of mind, and have like Zach with Myshire says, have that extra knowledge of, okay, if I need help, I can call this person and they're going to know exactly what to do. Or know the answer, or know somebody who knows the right thing. So I think that that's a good idea. So yeah. Well, on that note, I think we are going to call it a night. Thanks for joining me this past hour. I've enjoyed it. And if you guys have, I think we do well with just talking about what comes up. But if you have a topic of discussion that you would like to discuss, just pop it in the chat and we'll talk about it and see where we go. And there's a lot of people on here that like to share information. I know some people are just listening, but if you want to, message and say, hey, can we talk about this? And you don't want to talk out loud, then we can do that too. So yeah, thank you. Verna says, even with MPIP, you can't sell eggs for eating outside of your home unless you have the egg handling license. Yeah. So like a friends and family thing other than that. Ed says, good night, all. Stay safe. Gidro says, good night. Love these chats. I love them too. S.O. Swanson says, I'm going to take my my poodle hunting. Oh. Well, you might be dreaming about poodles and hunting tonight then. Verna says, have a blessed night, Katrina and all. Yes. So have a wonderful evening. I've enjoyed talking with you guys, and I hope all is well. And I did not get my seeds planted because it was 88 degrees today. Well, maybe next weekend. Steve says, thanks for enlightening us this evening. You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you for joining. All right. Have a good night, all. We'll see you next week. Same time, same channel.